Thanks, Squiddy. I hope that's a little better. I just been rambling on for apparently 45 minutes without without any audio. Oh boy. This is the fun thing about live filming. Well, I've also been fighting with network issues as well these past couple of days, so I'm not surprised. So Squiddy, I haven't seen you here before. I know I've only been doing this for about 2 weeks now, but I haven't seen you here before. Thank you. This is, I'm trying video-wise the best I can. As for my blacksmith shop itself, it's been slowly building for the last 16 years, almost 17 now. And pretty well everything that's in the shop now I have paid for with the business. Oh, Nate! Well, I'm glad that you clicked on the recommendation there, Squiddy. So we're doing cloak pins today. And apparently my audio has been missing for about 45 minutes of this, so I don't know how the video is going to be afterwards. So after I get this pin tapered off, I'll show you what I mean by cloak pin. There's Squiddy. Yeah, Nate, you missed the Tool Tuesday. So, this is the cloak pin that I'm making today. Actually, the ones I'm doing today are a little bit smaller, not much. These guys, I made 12 or 13 of them. So, and that's the last one. I think I made 12 or 13 of them. Was that 2 weeks ago there, Nate? I think you were on that. And that's the last one I have. So technically I actually sold all the ones I just made 2 weeks ago because I had one left over from the previous batch as well. So. And I've already done 10 of the bodies, and but don't worry, I got more to come. So you're kind of getting the halfway part of the build. So if you're missing what I'm doing on these, on the pins I'm just tapering one end right now and then flipping them around. And I do have 10 in the forge right now. Well, that one's already done. I forgot to flip that one around. We'll fix that. Yeah, so Nate, I did a steel run today. I don't want to say how much I spent. Actually, it wasn't as bad as I was anticipating. But I restocked all my little stuff, so. And I'm low on these guys, so I figured I will make more cloak pins. And this is mostly because I'm doing a show this weekend. And these cloak pins, I don't think I've been to a show where they haven't sold. Now, I will admit, not all the time do they sell out. And there's only been one show where they've been sold out completely. I took 25 to that particular show. That was a weekend medieval festival. But almost every show I go to, I will sell at least 5 of these. Or I should say 5 cloak pins. I do another style as well. But that's even like the farmer's market 4 hours kind of thing. I don't know if I should be telling you guys this. All my business secrets. And this particular cloak pin I've done a video for, I don't even know when, maybe a year ago, maybe a little more. And in that video, I actually do the main body over the horn. For a production like this, I will do with a jig. So I got one more pin here to taper down, and then I'm going to get ready to finish these guys off. And I do have enough steel to get like steel cut already in its lengths to do 34 today. But I don't know how that's going to pan out time-wise. So for the next part, it's going to be a little bit of anvil and a little bit of vise work. So I'm getting these guys ready in the for the vise. And I'll bring the one camera around. As best as I can. Best as I can. I would love to get this camera a little bit closer, but unfortunately, I only have so long of a cable because I'm actually plugged into USB right now. So what I'm doing with the body, I'm taking it from the top and I'm gripping it in relatively close, pretty well enough so you can get, I don't know, maybe a 1/4 inch. So here's a hook I do, you know, so it can actually slide in. Because for the next part, this is where the fun becomes. This is where the pin becomes a cloak pin or whatever you want to call it. So, like I said, it's going to be both anvil and vise. So I'm going to take the non-taper side of my pin and I'm grabbing, oh, I don't know. I think it's 1 1/4 inch. I'm just flattening it down. Ooh. Going over to my vise, and the next one I'll switch you over to the vise so you can see this part. But basically I'm just curling that part that I just flattened down around the body of the cloak pin. And you don't want it too tight. You want to keep it so it can flop around a little bit. And that one is forged done. You'll still get wire wheeled and stuff, but and beeswax finish. Oh, I just realized I explained that whole like wire wheel and beeswax finish for like 5 minutes without having any audio. So again, about 1.5 inches. 1 1/4 inch, sorry. I'm just going to start curling it over on the side of the vise, and then I'm going to start curling this around. I'm not hitting down on the pin itself or on the thing. I'm doing glance and blows. And I'm just trying to close that up as best as I can without being too tight, because you want to do the wiggle test afterwards. So yeah, I don't know what else to say on this, but I haven't already brought forth. So yeah, I'm all game for questions, comments, concerns. Because this is something that I do quite a bit, I have no problem making these as well as trying to answer chats. I can't guarantee you on all the projects I do on this stream, well, my channel, that will be the truth. How do they stay on the cloak? Okay. Okay. I'm gonna see what I have. I don't know. Oh. Let me grab. So I don't have a cloak with me, but I have my hoodie. So I'm going to try and do this with a hoodie. And I'm sorry if my mic gets a little muffled. That one's still a warm one. Okay. So you have your cloak. You wrap it around yourself. Then you take the spike. And how you want it. Oh, this one's a little tight. I might have to loosen this. So anyways, you take your pin. You jam it through. This might be too much of a tight weave to do it. Okay. That doesn't work. So anyways, does my, can I do it with this? Okay. Maybe. Oh, I got too tight of weave stuff. It needs to be a little looser. Unfortunately. Oh, it does make a permanent hole. Unfortunately. So a lot of people that use these use either a wool blanket or like a wool cloak, and the wool will just shrink back down on itself or stretch out back on itself. So I'm sorry, I don't have any. Give me a second. I might. Oh. Get my little toque out. This should work. So this is knitted fabric. So basically, you're stabbing it through. You stab through the two pieces of the. You kidding me? Even this is too tight. Too tight of a weave. That's terrible. Anyways, so pretend you shove this through and you got fabric on both sides of the pin. And then to lock it down, you're going to force the pin in between. Oh, I'm trying to do it in the camera and it's a reverse on my screen. So you have the fabric in, and then when you take it and take the pin, put it up like that, and then turn it sideways, that will lock the fabric in. It's more like a safety pin for your LARPers or your medieval people. And yes, this was used during medieval time, as well as Romans also had a similar, normally it would be called brooch. They were normally either cast or like cast out of bronze, or made with copper or gold or something like that. But medieval times, they actually did use these to hold their cloak over top of them. Often it was wool or felt, probably would be a better term of using it on it. And of course you can make it to fit smaller weave, like oh, they're getting all stuck together, and whoa, I waited too long on these. You can make the pin smaller to work with thinner fabrics. And if I remember, I will bring my cloak into my shop, or I should say my wool blanket into the shop, so I can actually demonstrate it more in real life of how it will look. I just didn't think I would get that question today. So yeah, making these are pretty simple. They are useful. They are a good practice for doing horn work, like practicing doing loops on your horn. So if you do get it, I would strongly suggest, if you are having troubles with bending stuff around your horn, to try a couple of these. And what I will do to try and keep a circle, I will put a mark. I'll take a round piece of pipe or something that I know is actually round, and I will take either a Sharpie or soapstone onto my anvil and mark out that circle, and then keep on forging until you have that nice circle from forging around the horn. And actually, I think that's how I did it in the original video when I did these. Because I know I did it with the horn, and I think I did demonstrate the whole marking, putting a mark on your anvil. Oh, shaky, shaky. The tongs I used, oh, now I'm going to have to remember. The tongs were a little bit weird because I switched tanks after I did the first forge, after I did the first nib, I should say. So, also I was running a little bit warmer at first, and then I cut down the propane. I think all in all, it was in the 6 pounds range, give or take a little bit. One of the hardest things is that for those guys, I also pumped into 2 tanks. So, even though I wrote it down and stuff, I believe the math, I would have to look back, but I believe it was somewhere in the 6.5 pounds of propane. The pickup tongs did go quicker than the original, the box tongs that I did. The pickup tongs is a far simpler forging project. Just because with the box tongs you're doing the isolation on the one. Now after yesterday's episode or stream, I did clean up the tongs a little bit. Basically where I cut the reins off had a little burr on the back. So I just grind that down quickly on the belt grinder. I did clean up the tips a little bit, so they were a little bit more straight. One did go a little bit askew. It basically stuff I knew was going to happen, because like with the live streams, I am on a time constraints because my little puppy has to get out once in a while. So I try as much as possible to get a project done in the time I can. But with something like taking the burrs off the reins and stuff, I figure that's kind of self-explanatory. So I wasn't gonna concern myself too much with that. Uh-oh, that one's tight. We'll see if I can fix it. I might have lost too much heat. But basically, if you do get one too tight, I just stretch it out a little bit to try and fix it. And hopefully I can. And sometimes you have to wiggle it about. Now, one advantage with using a little bit thinner stock and thinning this little tab or whatever down, you can move it cold. This I usually get pretty good. I must have got distracted or something. Well, it looks like it went a little bit more square than round. So I'm just coming in here and trying to, any piece that is a little square, I think that might have it. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, it was just a little kink. Just on this corner. A little bit, just on this corner. It's a little bit more squared than round. And as soon as I rounded that off, yeah. No, I don't know what I'm gonna do for next Tool Tuesday. I have tools I need to make, or I should say I have tools I want to make. So I have yet to. Oh, I forgot to put the next pin in. So I do have a desire to finally make my own claw hammer. I just don't have one. That is one that I made. So I do have a desire to do a claw hammer. I also have a desire to make a nice chipping hammer for welding. And I always have more tongs to make. And I am also just going on the whole overall what I plan on doing. I am looking at seeing if I can get some blacksmith tools in here by either sponsors or just buying them myself. So, you know, you do the whole, I bought from Amazon the cheapest thing that came up when I type in blacksmith tools, and this is what it is. So this pin got a little bit bent out of shape. So I'm just gonna do light taps, straighten that up. That you can do cold, and I'm just gonna get the most of these straightened up as possible. Not really worried too much about getting that fully straight because a little bit of a jig making jig. Okay. Well, we'll see how that works. Woo. I keep on forgetting that my tripod has weight on the bottom now. So when I pick it up from like right underneath the camera, the thing just wants to go whoop right up to the top. Okay, clean the anvil. And we start the pins again. So five in the forge. So again, because my audio wasn't working for the first 45 minutes, I am using 1/4 inch round, 7 inches long. So these are actually shorter than what I used 2 weeks ago, Nate. That's just because it's easier for me to shrink these than make adjustments to my jig. So, and the overall difference between them is not going to be a lot from a like visual thing. They are going to be ever so slightly smaller in diameter. But because they go around the jig so much nicer, the overall finish of them is going to look so much nicer. Oh, Squiddy! Thanks for coming out. And hopefully I'll catch you next time. I'm here every weekday at 1:30 Eastern time. Well, I'm going to try and be here every day at 1:30 Eastern time. So, yeah. So do I cut everything with a bandsaw? Almost everything when I'm doing production runs. Now you asked that, and I have a CNC plasma cutter right here. So not everything gets cut on, can I turn this around? Yeah. I also got a CNC plasma cutter right here. So from a production point of view, yes, almost everything gets pre-cut to a certain size. That is because from a production point of view, for me to be a good value with quality stuff, I pre-cut everything. It's more consistency, especially I would say about 80% of my sales are online. So Etsy, my website. So I have to be consistent as much as possible. Even though it is hand forge, I like to be consistent. So it's more of that kind of thing where it's like, if it's always the same size going into the forge, it's pretty well going to be the same size when it comes out at the other end as a finished product. Now, with that said, things like decorative nails, no, just have 4 lengths of steel, 4 or 5 lengths of steel in the forge, and just keep on going. Cut it off with a hot cut Hardy, and do the head. I should do that one day. I should do fancy nails. Actually, Tool Tuesday might be a new nail header jig tool thingy. The one I have, I'm not really too proud of, I guess the best way to put it. So I want to do that. So that might be next Tuesday. Next Tuesday might be a nail header. That would be yeah. And then I guess right after I could do nails on the next stream and see how many nails and how fast I can do. Now, from a historic point of view, a guy making nails could do 60 in an hour, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. So 1 every minute with a cold forge, which to me is ridiculous. Now, a lot of them actually had special anvils made and tooling on the anvil. So every step from pulling out, doing the taper, cutting it off, putting the nail header in, was all done on one anvil. They didn't have to move anything. And they would do that for, I can't remember how long I heard, but something like a full days, which I think was like 10 hours for some people. Which, yeah, that's a lot. Like, I'm not even going to pretend that I can even get close to that. Even if I ramped up a little bit, I don't know if I could do that. And like, I have an advantage where I have propane, so I can set my heat pretty well spot on, so I don't have to worry about burning my steel. Where these guys were using coal, so burning steel was very much something they had to keep an eye on. So we're going to start off with my 5s, and I'm going to taper to one end, making sure I don't grip my hammer too much. Because you want to keep your hammer as loose as possible, and that is hard when you're getting a little bit tired, or when you want to work down a lot of steel and you feel like you have to have that death grip to hold that hammer, because it moves more steel that way. It doesn't. So if you find that you're getting a lot of blisters, if you're working your steel and all that, lighten up on your hammer holding. You want it so it's almost falling out of your hand. Almost. I'm just doing a curl. Well, let's put you over to the anvil so you get a little bit better view. This is why my hammer gets chips in it. Well, I don't know if you're here, Nate, but I redressed the chip out of my, where is it? I redressed the chip slightly out of my hammer. So it's no longer on the face. Still a little bit on the side of the hammer, but the face is now cleaned up a little bit. So I'm just tapering it to a square, and then knocking down the corners so it's an octagon, making sure all 8 sides are roughly the same before I start doing light blows to plenish. And if I still have enough heat, I will do my curl. And I'm not trying to beat this into submission, I'm just lightly convincing it where to go. And it's simple. And then I'm going to flip it around. We're going to do the same thing on the other side. Oh, and Nate, I didn't keep track of propane today. I'm going on the thinking that because I'm running 5 psi, I'm running 3 pounds an hour. Which was the same that I was doing that day that I kept track of it. Actually, what would be interesting is to see how it runs after I reline it. It is, once we get a little bit more into the summer and my stockpile of finished product gets a little bit more stable, I plan on taking a trip to get some refactory. One of the companies that make it is 2.5 hour drive from me. So I plan on getting at least one 50-pound bag, possibly 2, because it is actually so much cheaper for me to drive down there one day and pick it up, as well as do other things in that area, than it is to just buy it online. And the stuff I'm getting is going to be good until 3,000 degrees Fahrenheit. I think. Might be 3,100. But more than, so it's a lightweight insulation. So it will be doing the tops and sides of my forge again. The bottom, I plan on just using hard fire bricks for it. And what I'm not doing is I'm not ripping out all the insulation that's currently in the forge. I'm basically just coating over top. I want to see how that works. Yeah, it is a long trip, but my parents live down that way, so I can go visit them. I have other creators that I have worked with, so they do pottery and stuff like that. I plan on hooking up with them while I'm down there as well. So I'm trying to make, it'll be almost a full day. So it's not like I'm just driving there just for refactory. I might also do it as check out some of the shops that my stuff might fit into. So with some of the stuff I do, is really aligned with kind of the witchy shop. So I got a couple that I would like to go down and have a chat with. And also I gotta hook up with some pottery people to see if they're interested in more tools from me. So like the pottery ribs that I showed you a couple of days ago, as well as any other thing that they can think of. And again, when I'm doing the second curl, I'm looking to see where the first one is to make sure I'm in line with it. This being round stock, it's not terribly critical because you can just, if you're a little off, you can just put it in to the vise, twist it, and you'll barely know that it's got twisted. Definitely when I'm doing my square ones, it is far more obvious when that happens. So this is the last one where it needs the curl, and then I can start doing the bodies on them. There we go. So that'll be into the forge. I'll put you over to my vise again. And because I think my voice wasn't working when I explained this before. So the jig I'm using is just a spindle from a trailer that has different steps where the bearings go and all that for the trailer. But it works out great for doing different size round stuff. Oh, and the second piece, this is a jig for my hook, one of the hooks I do, but I'm just worried about this one little stop, I guess, and I'm using that as the stop for this main jig. And with it being 2 pieces of angle iron, it allows me to adjust how far my stop pin is from the main spindle. And I am going to be switching over to my flat bit tongs. Up until now, I've been using my V-bit 3/4 inch, 3/8 tongs. So I'm going in, I'm quenching the tip first, just so I don't squish that tip against the stop. And then I'm just jamming this basically as tight as I can around my jig. So it kind of looks like that. Going over to the anvil and doing any straightening that I need to. And it's going to go onto the concrete to cool off a little bit. And we're going to rinse and repeat another 4 times. Take it over to the anvil. If I have to, I'll take it over the horn to round off stuff a little bit better. Yeah. And just little tweaks that need to happen to make it look good. Oh, nope. Okay, good. Sorry, that landed on my air hose. Like my compressed air, that is. That one's near perfect. I just have to flatten it a little bit once I got a little out of sync with everything else. How are we doing on time? Okay. So what I probably will do is I'll actually do 5 pins just so I could have 15 done today. And when I say done, I mean forged. Like many of my stuff, they will get a wire wheel and beeswax. Oh, we got someone spamming on Twitch to go to another website. No. I don't know how to moderate that. Come on. Come on, people. Okay, so my vise is mounted to a piece of square. Actually, I should just show you. So it's a square pipe. It's a thick wall pipe. This here, that goes all the way down to the floor. It has a big, down here that you're not going to see, is a big plate that's bolted down to the ground. See if I can lower you a little bit. So down here, I don't know if you can see it very well, the leg of the vise is actually encased in a piece of square tube, so it doesn't, the bottom leg doesn't move out. As for the bracket, this is 2 pieces of angle iron welded together to make basically a channel. And then I have a bracket that I made up. I believe I did a video of this in a lot more detail. I think might be going back 2 years now. But yeah, I've had this vise for a long time where it wasn't mounted to anything. I picked this up when I was at my old shop, which is 13 years ago now. And it was only literally like whenever I did that video, either 2 or 3 years ago, that I actually mounted it. Prior to that, I was just using your standard bench machinist. Mechanic? Is it mechanic or machinist? You know, your standard bench vise that you find really dirt cheap on marketplace and stuff. And I still have the original one I first started off with, and it still works, no problem. I just moved away from it because there's certain things that you can't do with that kind of vise that a leg vise helps with. One, just dealing with really long pieces of steel. Your bench ones don't work really well for that. So I'm moving on to the pins. Just because of time-wise, I think, yeah, we're already at 3. So this will get me 15 done today, which is, you know, okay number, especially seeing that I'm doing the video. So doing a little bit of, so I'm gonna leave you on the vise for the next part as well. Whoop. And I know these guys are gonna be a little warm, so I'm gonna quench them. These are the bodies. I like doing these when they're cold. Less chance of them getting disformed and all that. Yeah, one of the problems with this leg vise, and why it took me so long to get it mounted, is it didn't come with its original bracket. And that causes its own problems. I actually fought quite a bit making this bracket itself. Actually, no, I did mount it once before, and that was on the bench that my laptop and all that is on right now. Huh. Sorry, I'm just, how do you moderate? What? Sorry, I'm still learning Twitch. Anyway, I'll leave it. It's fine. Whatever. It doesn't look too bad. Anyways, going on to the pins. Apparently, I got a little grease on my my tongs somehow. Okay. So doing the pins, I'm going to be tapering to one end. Now, if you're having troubles getting 3/16 round, you can use 1/4 inch, and you just, you know, bring it down to what size you think is good for you. Yeah. So just tapering that down to make the pin, and then I am going to flip it over. And I'm going to continue that on the other 4. So if you see me banging the steel down when I first pull it out of the forge, I'm trying to lock it into the little groove in my tongs. Because these flat bit tongs also have a groove to hold the steel a little better. So basically a long taper where you're doing the taper to a square, bring it to an octagon, plenish it a little bit, and then we're going to work on the other side for the next heat. Okay, now before I go and flatten the other side, that's also something I need to make. I need to make a bracket for my controller. I just want to put it down that there's still a little bit of a gap on top, so I can actually get the pin in once I flatten the front. So I'm just taking about 1.25 inches. I'm flattening it down. Then I'm coming over to my vise. I'm going to start curling it, and then I'm going to start bringing it around the main body. And when I'm bringing it around the main body, I'm not trying to hammer too much downwards onto the main body. And then after I got it all pinned, I do a little shaky test to see how loose it's moving, because you do want this kind of loose. So now showing the vise side of all this. After I put one in. So again, I'm going to put one in, just so there's still enough gap. Now you don't want to stick this up too high where you have a tendency to bend the body. So again, flattening out on the edge of the anvil, about 1.25 inches. Just going to start rounding it over on my vise, and then round it over the main body. Again, trying to get this as tight as I can without binding on it. Well, thanks for coming out, Nate. I'll catch you tomorrow, hopefully. So again, flatten out, start curl. Start rounding it around. We do a little jiggy jiggy. So we got 2 more to do, and then we'll call it a day today. Okay. Well, that's 15 done today of my cloak pins. So, unfortunately, I'm gonna have to call it a day at that. But there you go. And on a future video, I actually will bring in my my wool blanket so I can show you how these guys actually are used. So, that's it for the show today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I do put these online publicly after I'm done the stream, so if you missed a part of it, you can go back and look at it. Apparently, the first 45 minutes of this stream did not have audio, so I'll do better. Well, thanks for coming out, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.